Welcome to this Windows Computer and Technology channel. And if you have a computer, and chances are you might, because a lot of PCs from different brands have this type of UEFI BIOS. You call it BIOS, it's not a BIOS anymore, it's really a UEFI. It's a different style of firmware that actually boots computers today. This is a popular UEFI firmware inside. Sometimes, and actually over time, I talked about it here on the channel, but over time some people asked me what that was. They were wondering what was that in the Windows updates for updates of firmware. And so InsydeH2O or Inside Firmware is, firmware that helps you boot up your computer and manage the computer in general. Now, a security firm has found that dozens of security flaws are in this type of BIOS. That means that almost every PC vendor that uses this, and pretty much all companies have used this inside UEFI BIOS at some point, are at risk. Now, the good news, there needs to be a physical attack on the PC for that to happen. That means you have to have either someone introduce some malware or some changes that are going to be done on the computer itself, or you already have to be actually infected by virus or malware for this to actually happen. So if you keep your system up to date and you keep your computer safe by not doing things you shouldn't do, you're okay, because there's no way to access that UEFI BIOS without having something happen on the PC side. It's not like remote code execution in Windows where some flaws can actually be exploited directly from the internet. But it has a very bad side to it, is that the security flaws discovered mean that if you exploit one of the security flaws, you can rewrite the firmware in a way that it's almost impossible to remove a virus. That means the inside firmware could be used to introduce a Windows virus every time you boot your computer up. That is the bad part of this firmware and the flaws in it. So that would mean that if you'd be infected, there is a possibility that it will totally be impossible to remove it, or very, very difficult to remove it, without, of course, always having to rewrite. But the problem is you're stuck. You'll need Windows to rewrite, and Windows will be infected, so it's going to write the virus again, and you'll be stuck in the loop. It'll have to be really, really written in a different way, without access to, and even there, whatever you boot up, this firmware virus or malware will always be there trying to prevent and rewrite itself. So it's a crazy situation here. What that means is if you have this type of UEFI BIOS, check regularly for updates, and once you see an update that will actually appear, please install it. It will be very, very important for you to stay safe in the future and not have the possibility of this really, really bad malware getting into the firmware of your PC. So it will take time, because all the brands and all the manufacturers that make hardware that uses this UEFI BIOS need to actually synchronize together in here, and that is far from being an easy job. Even though Insyde itself has sent the fixes, it's up to the manufacturer of your computer to push that fix to your computer. So it might be in Windows Update, but it also might be in a download from your manufacturer, meaning either going to the manufacturer's website and checking out if they have firmware updates for the machine that you have. So it could take several weeks, even months in some cases, for this to be fixed. But like I said, the good news is that there needs to be an access to the PC for this to happen. So it's not like a critical flaw that could be accessed from outside. It's really just to make sure that you block every possibility of this happening if someday you would have some malware on your computer. If you enjoy my videos, please subscribe, give us thumbs up. Thank you for watching.